Chapter 14, Part 4 of How I Found Livingstone. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. How I Found Livingstone. Travels, Adventures, and Discoveries in Central Africa, including 4 months' residence with Dr. Livingstone. By Sir Henry M. Stanley. Chapter 14, Part 4. Our Journey from Ujiji to Unyanyembe. On the 31st of January, at Muaru, Sultan Ka Mirambo, we met a caravan under the leadership of a slave of Sayd bin Habib, who came to visit us in our camp, which was hidden in a thick clump of jungle. After he was seated and had taken his coffee, I asked, "What is the news, my friend, that thou hast brought from Unyanyembe?" "My news is good, master." "How goes the war?" "Ah, Mirambo is where? He eats the hides even. He is famished. Sayd bin Habib, my master, hath possession of Kirira. The Arabs are thundering at the gates of Wilyankuru. Sayd bin Majid, who came from Ujiji to Usagozo in 20 days, hath taken and slain Moto, Fire, the king. Simba of Kasera hath taken up arms for the defence of his father, Makasiwa of Unyanyembe. The chief of Ugunda hath sent 500 men to the field. Ugh, Mirambo is where? In a month he will be dead of hunger." "Great and good news truly, my friend." "Yes, in the name of God. And whither art thou bound with thy caravan?" "Sayd, the son of Majid, who came from Ujiji, hath told us of the road that the white man took, that he arrived at Ujiji safely, and that he was on his way back to Unyanyembe. So we have thought that if the white man could go there, we could also. Lo, the Arabs come by the hundred by the white man's road, to get the ivory from Ujiji." "I am that white man." "You?" "Yes." "Why was it reported that you were dead, that you fought with the Wazavira?" "Ah, my friend, these are the words of Njara, the son of Khamis. See," pointing to Livingstone, "this is the white man, my father." It is a courteous custom in Africa to address elderly people as Baba, or father, "whom I saw at Ujiji. He is going with me to Unyanyembe to get his cloth, after which he will return to the great waters." "Wonderful! Thou sayest truly. What hast thou to tell me of the white man at Unyanyembe?" "Which white man?" "The white man I left in the house of Sayd, the son of Salim, my house at Kwihara." "He is dead." "Dead?" "True." "You do not mean to say that the white man is dead?" "True, he is dead." "How long ago?" "Many months now." "What did he die of?" "Homa, or fever." "Any more of my people dead?" "I know not." "Enough." I looked sympathetically at the doctor, and he replied, "I told you so. When you described him to me as a drunken man, I knew he could not live. Men who have been habitual drunkards cannot live in this country, any more than men who have become slaves to other vices. I attribute the deaths that occurred in my expedition on the Zambezi much to the same cause." "Ah, doctor, there are 2 of us gone. I shall be the 3rd if this fever lasts much longer." "Oh no, not at all. If you would have died from fever, you would have died at Ujiji when you had that severe attack of remittent. Don't think of it. Your fever now is only the result of exposure to wet. I never travel during the wet season. This time I have travelled because I was anxious, and I did not wish to detain you at Ujiji." "Well, there is nothing like a good friend at one's back in this country to encourage him, and keep his spirits up. Poor Shah! I am sorry, very sorry for him. How many times have I not endeavoured to cheer him up? But there was no life in him. And among the last words I said to him before parting were, 'Remember, if you return to Unyanyembe, you die.'" We also obtained news from the chief of Sayd bin Habib's caravan that several packets of letters and newspapers, and boxes had arrived for me from Zanzibar by my messengers and Arabs, that Salim, the son of Sheikh Hashid of Zanzibar, was amongst the latest arrivals in Unyanyembe. The doctor also reminded me with the utmost good nature that, according to his accounts, he had a stock of jellies and crackers, soups, fish, and potted ham, besides cheese, awaiting him in Unyanyembe, and that he would be delighted to share his good things. Whereupon I was greatly cheered, and during the repeated attacks of fever I suffered about this time, my imagination loved to dwell upon the luxuries at Unyanyembe. I pictured myself devouring the hams and crackers and jellies like a madman. I lived on my raving fantasies. My poor vexed brain rioted on such homely things as wheaten bread and butter, hams, bacon, caviare, and I would have thought no price too high to pay for them. Though so far away and out of the pale of Europe and America, it was a pleasure to me, during the athumia or despondency into which I was plunged by ever recurring fevers, to dwell upon them. I wondered that people who had access to such luxury should ever get sick and become tired of life. I thought that if a wheaten loaf with a nice pat of fresh butter were presented to me, I would be able, though dying, to spring up and dance a wild fandango. Though we lacked the good things of this life above named, we possessed salted giraffe and pickled zebra tongues, we had ugali made by Halima herself, we had sweet potatoes, tea, coffee, dampers, or slapjacks, but I was tired of them. My enfeebled stomach, harrowed and irritated with medicinal compounds, with ipecac, colocynth, tartar emetic, quinine, and such things, protested against the coarse food. Oh, for a wheaten loaf, my soul cried in agony. $500 for one loaf of bread. The doctor, somehow or other, despite the incessant rain, the dew, fog, and drizzle, the marching, and sore feet, ate like a hero, and I, manfully, sternly resolved to imitate the persevering attention he paid to the welfare of his gastric powers, but I miserably failed. Dr. Livingstone possesses all the attainments of a traveller. His knowledge is great about everything concerning Africa. The rocks, the trees, the fruits, and their virtues, are known to him. He is also full of philosophic reflections upon ethnological matters. With campcraft, with its cunning devices, he is au fait. His bed is luxurious as a spring mattress. Each night he has it made under his own supervision. First he has 2 straight poles cut, 3 or 4 inches in diameter, which are laid parallel one with another, at the distance of 2 feet. Across these poles are laid short sticks, saplings 3 feet long, and over them is laid a thick pile of grass. Then comes a piece of waterproof canvas and blankets, and thus a bed has been improvised fit for a king. It was at Livingstone's instigation I purchased milch goats, by which, since leaving Ujiji, we have had a supply of fresh milk for our tea and coffee 3 times a day. Apropos of this, we are great drinkers of these welcome stimulants. We seldom halt drinking until we have each had 6 or 7 cups. We also have been able to provide ourselves with music, which, though harsh, is better than none. I mean the musical screech of parrots from Manyuema. Halfway between Mwaru, Kamarambo's village, and the deserted Tongondi of Ukamba, I carved the doctor's initials and my own on a large tree, with the date February 2nd. I have been twice guilty of this in Africa. Once when we were famishing in southern Uvinza, I inscribed the date, my initials, and the word "starving" in large letters on the trunk of a sycamore. In passing through the forest of Ukamba, we saw the bleached skull of an unfortunate victim to the privations of travel. Referring to it, the doctor remarked that he could never pass through an African forest, with its solemn stillness and serenity, without wishing to be buried quietly under the dead leaves, where he would be sure to rest undisturbed. In England there was no elbow room, the graves were often desecrated, and ever since he had buried his wife in the woods of Shampanga he had sighed for just such a spot, where his weary bones would receive the eternal rest they coveted. The same evening, when the tent door was down, and the interior was made cheerful by the light of a paraffin candle, the doctor related to me some incidents respecting the career and the death of his eldest son, Robert. Readers of Livingstone's first book, South Africa, without which no boy should be, will probably recollect the dying Sebutane's regard for the little boy Robert. Mrs. Livingstone and family were taken to the Cape of Good Hope, and thence sent to England, where Robert was put in the charge of a tutor. But wearied of inactivity, when he was about 18, he left Scotland and came to Natal, whence he endeavoured to reach his father. Unsuccessful in the attempt, he took ship and sailed for New York, and enlisted in the Northern Army, in a New Hampshire regiment of volunteers, discarding his own name of Robert Moffat Livingstone, and taking that of Rupert Vincent, that his tutor, who seems to have been ignorant of his duties to the youth, might not find him. From one of the battles before Richmond, he was conveyed to a North Carolina hospital, where he died from his wounds. On the 7th of February we arrived at the Gombe, and camped near one of its largest lakes. This lake is probably several miles in length, and swarms with hippopotami and crocodiles. From this camp I despatched Ferajji, the cook, and Chowpereh.